Hey everyone, it is Dani'i and welcome to this updated video this evening. I trust and hope you're doing great. Now, earlier today in Jamaica, there was a magnitude 5.4 earthquake. That was the estimated magnitude, and the epicenter was in the parish of Portland. So that has resulted in quite the experience for many of us Jamaicans, and even for me. I haven't experienced it as strong as many other persons in the eastern parishes. However, I've been dealing with earthquake anxiety and the fear of it happening 4 months now, so this was quite the experience for me, and I've been struggling with the anxiety attacks, but nonetheless I'm getting this video done, so let's get straight into it. We're going to be talking about that, and I'll also show some clips of the damage that happened across some areas. Fortunately, no reports of fatalities. However, there have been some injuries, and we'll be talking about that as well as what is going on across the tropics. So we want to talk about these two disturbances, with focus being on that one in the Caribbean that may develop into the next tropical storm, and a hurricane is not out the picture. So let's get straight into it. We're looking at the satellite imagery, and here we can see that up there is actually Invest 96L. We're not seeing much happening with it. That is not going to be developing as it accelerates into less conducive conditions. It's in a more hostile environment out there. Seeing a lot of convection here and there across the main development region. Nothing really materializing out there though. Also seeing some thunderstorms popping up across sections of the Guyanas, going over into Venezuela. Let's zoom further into the Caribbean, and here we can see that we've got this area of lots of showers and thunderstorms just offshore of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands, as well as in the Caribbean. All this activity is in association with the disturbance in the area that is going to drift toward the west, and with all these thunderstorms, they're likely to eventually consolidate as we're going to be heading into the next couple of days once conditions remain conducive to allow for development. So by the latter part of this week, heading into this weekend, we're likely to see a tropical depression, even a tropical storm, become off the system, and I would not rule out a hurricane. We'll be looking at conditions in a moment, but for now, across the Lesser Antilles, especially the northern Leeward Islands, going to Antigua, Barbuda, St. Martin, St. Bartholomew, Anguilla, Ceiba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, and even for Guadeloupe and parts of Dominica, there isn't much happening right now. So most of that activity is off to the west of those areas, heading down through parts of Dominica, going to Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and even the Grenadines, potentially for Grenada as well at times. There may be some intermittent overcast skies, maybe even some showers passing through. A bit of activity down in the vicinity of Trinidad and Tobago. Overall, nothing too crazy there. As we head over into Barbados, not seeing a whole lot happening either. For the ABC Islands, though, there is all that moisture nearby, so maybe some periods of passing showers. You can let me know what's been happening for you. As we head up to Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, a lot of the activity associated with the disturbance has been impacting the area, and even over into Hispaniola, particularly for the Dominican Republic, we're seeing a lot of that activity popping up. Across some spots in Jamaica, going up to Cuba, a bit of activity here and there, nothing much happening for the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos Islands, and over into parts of Central America, nothing too crazy there either, and for the Cayman Islands. So now let's go ahead and talk more about the disturbances. So first up is 96L. That area is going to eventually dissipate. Out there, it has only a 10% chance to develop, so this will be off the map maybe by tonight, and conditions are a lot more hostile. As for that next Caribbean disturbance, not yet designated as an invest or an area of investigation, but it is given a 60% chance. So that chance has been increasing exponentially for the system to actually develop, and as such, we could definitely see a tropical depression and eventually a tropical storm become of this. The next name for the season is Vince. Now, this is going to be continuing on a generally westward track. Some models want to show a little bit of a dip, but this could pass just to the south of Jamaica. Now, as we're seeing, this is not showing the extent of all the associated activity. So if all that activity is close enough in proximity to Jamaica, there could actually be some periods of very heavy rainfall here as we're going to be heading into the latter part of this week. And then eventually the system could make its way over into Central America, resulting in very dangerous impacts, especially as a tropical storm or even a hurricane. Now, conditions ahead seem conducive to allow for some strengthening. Here we are looking at the dry air map. Those areas of oranges, yellows, reds indicate all that dry air, and we can see that in the Caribbean that isn't a big deal right now, so that is not going to be interfering much with the system. Next, we're looking at the wind shear map, and in those areas of those red lines, that's where we find those strong upper level winds. That helps to prevent development, but we're seeing that in the vicinity opportunity of the disturbance. There is not much of that right now. So conditions ahead are generally conducive, and of course the waters are very warm, as we can see around 30 degrees Celsius, and tropical cyclones would require at least around 26 degrees. So those temperatures are still very warm to support all that activity. And as we're seeing right now on these satellites, that is being depicted. So it is taking advantage of those conducive conditions. And eventually, as we head into tonight, that formation chance is likely to increase even further, since we're seeing a lot more shower and thunderstorm activity being produced. So we may go up to 70% through the next 7 days. Now, as it relates to what models have to show, we're looking at the ensemble tracks for GFS, and we're seeing that all these various members here are showing that general westward track, the system moving into Central America, weakening because it is going to be moving overland, but then making a curve up to the north and then out to the northeast. So very interesting here. But going on to the Euro ensemble members here, Euro staying with a weaker system that moves into Central America, not showing that curve that is expected by the GFS, and that will all be dependent on those pressure systems out there. Those areas of high pressure usually result in that more westward track, but once a front is going to be making its way down as the system approaches to the Western Caribbean, that is when it would have that opportunity to make a curve up and out. So we'll definitely have to keep our eyes on this. As I said, it could be very close in proximity to Jamaica and may actually help to induce more rainfall activity, some periods of heavy rain as we're going to be heading into the latter part of this week, and eventually there could be landfall in Central America once the system attains tropical cyclone status. Now let's go ahead and talk about that earthquake. So earlier this morning at approximately 10:57 a.m. there was an earthquake with its epicenter in the parish of Portland in eastern Jamaica. Now this quake was felt all across the island, and you can share experiences down in the comments. So that earthquake has actually resulted in quite a bit of damage, and this afternoon 2:33 p.m. there was an aftershock within that same general area. So usually with these main quakes, aftershocks follow at times, and there is a possibility of even more aftershocks, hopefully on the weaker side. But now I'm going to be showing you guys some of the videos that were taken of the damage across the various eastern parishes.
Yo!
This earthquake, this
Yo, man, I'm free! No!
This earthquake like this yet.
Yeah, man!
Yeah, this one is what it is.
Yo, I dance, building a dance!
Building I got drop.
Yo!
I'm not get nobody else. I'm here beat the door then. And the tank down there suburbs. The whole of the water was shut down the side in my bathroom. Hey, the airplane got empty.
Hello, Barbican. At the moment after the earthquake. I'm saying to you, all the aisles them, all around the aisle 8, every aisle is a mess.
And so guys, there you have seen it. So this quake comes just over a month after another that hit in a similar area in eastern Jamaica. That one I believe was magnitude 5.2 back on the 21st of September on a Thursday, and now there is another one just over a month later. So earthquakes are unpredictable phenomena. They do quite a bit of damage, but thankfully it wasn't worse, because it could have been worse, although many structures are now hazardous and weakened as a result of the shaking. So I really hope that everyone is going to be okay, and hopefully there are no strong aftershocks. There are no more strong aftershocks that would actually pack a punch. So let's hope and pray for that, but we should also remember to have those tips of what to do in the back of our minds. Although when the real thing arrives, those precautionary tips, those measures, they don't just flood to the forefront of our brains. So hopefully all will be okay, and if you're going through that anxiety, you're not going through it alone, trust me. But I'll definitely be keeping you guys posted on what is happening as it relates to that earthquake, and of course what is happening in regards to that disturbance in the Caribbean, because we're likely to see development of it over the coming days. So that is pretty much it for this video, and I hope you found it to be quite informative. But if you have any questions, please do leave them in the comments. I'll respond to you once I get the chance to do so. And remember to always be weather-wise.